When you're recording. You both recording? Okay. Greetings all my fellow colleagues in America. Paul Haas, sports physiotherapist down under Melbourne, Australia. I'm here to talk about the current evolving method of taping in our category, being PT and AT, because things are changing by the day, by the minute, by the hour in taping, and I want to get everyone up to date with what we're doing. Now, first of all, we know the three categories, or I hope you know the three categories of sports tapes. We've got our typical athletic leukoP type with our pre-wrap tape, our strong stiff tapes. We've got our kinesiology tapes. I know you all love kinesiology tape, and we'll talk more about the ins and outs of that. And then for those who aren't familiar yet, we do have our four-way stretch mechanical tapes, really only two brands in the world, and they're a fantastic addition to the taping lineup that just makes tape such a good tool to affect change in our patients. Now, I'm going to get the lovely Dave here to help me move this out of the way, this lovely prop which is now going, and we're going to have a bit of a whiteboard session as to regards to what I call the fundamentals of taping and a method that I call the tissue targeted taping approach. So that's the TTT method, and we talk about the three T's being the tape and the tissues, and what our target, what our aim is of the taping technique. Let's quickly brief the three taping categories. We've got our rigid tapes. Now the whole reason, and the tapes reflect tissues of the body. Think about the connective tissues that therapists work with. Think about muscle, bone, tendon, fascia, skin, the key connective tissues that we as clinicians can influence to help our patients. Our rigid tapes are rigid. They're stiff. They don't store any potential energy. They just get very tight. That's our first category of tape, and they are important to affect ligaments, and ligaments are stiff tissues, just like the tape, to help with stability. The second category is our kinesiology tape, designed for a stretch of 150 to 200%. That stretch mimics skin and fascia. So the tissue that this tape has been designed to work with are the skin and fascia, and all the things that organ, being the biggest organ of the body, can affect and change again to help our patients. The third category of tape is newer, and it's unreal, I think, as a therapist, because it's like a bungee cord. It's viscoelastic. So we're talking about the active mechanical tapes, or biomechanical as they are also called. The mechanical tapes affect the muscle and tendon unit. Because the elasticity, the tape stretches around 220 to 250%. It stores energy like a bungee. We know that our muscle tendon units store potential energy and release it as kinetic energy, which is why we can store and we can jump. So energy in, energy out. This material is designed to affect that. People think that kinesiology tape does it. It doesn't. It doesn't have the strength. If you've got a brand of tape at home and you're used to cutting kinesiology tape, just grab a little bit of your tape and try and tear it, and you'll be able to deter it. And that tearing means it doesn't have the power or strength to mimic or support muscle tendons directly. The active tape, you cannot break nylon. So it's very strong, has that nice viscoelastic energy, and it works on muscles and tendons. Now, if we look at the three categories, what's really important is to think about, well, what we do needs to have some scientific background once something new then works through the literature, so that there's some science around it so we can sort of tick the box and validate it. So we have the three categories. So let's look at athletic tape. We look at the target, or the aim being stability. There's plenty of science now around, especially the ankle joint, that the tape can stabilize an area. Very important. And we've seen that against bracing. So bracing and taping both give you stability of the area. It's done in a number of studies. Kinesiology. Now this is the one where, unfortunately, a lot of brands have grabbed this and said it can do everything. But we need to peel back the layers and look at the research. And if we look at a tick box situation here, what's the highest level of evidence that what the skin and fascia can do that the tape helps with? The biggest one is pain. There's been a number of studies shown and meta-analysis that the tape, better than placebo, can help with pain, and when your pain goes away, your function restores. The second most important is swelling lymphedema. So when you decrease those things by the use of the tape, if you combine reduce pain, reduce swelling, systems come back online. Inhibition activates, spasm inhibits. That's why this tape's fantastic, because indirectly it can improve function. Proprioception has one tick because the science isn't conclusive that the tape will always improve your proprioception. Remember your three key proprioceptors. The first one, the powerful ones, that have a sensory and a motor function, are your muscle spindles. They are the most important ones. So when you close your eyes and you're balancing, those little spindles are firing. Then you have your joint proprioceptors, and finally your skin. This works on the skin proprioceptors, not so influential as the other two. But we think that combined with these other things can help overall. But in isolation, the evidence around proprioception, which you might think is very strong, isn't. And what's important with all that is that the kinesiology tape, if you put it on your leg, doesn't just activate your muscles. That doesn't happen. You need to do it from an indirect approach of lowering these things. But other brands will teach you that this tape activates things and makes you jump higher and makes you run faster in isolation. That's what we call placebo. So that's not the function of the tape, and you need to think more about that when you're learning this. And the last one is the active tape. The systems and the targets of the active tape are your muscles and tendons, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to offload and deload. So we're trying to take energy out of the system, not all of it, that's not smart, but we're trying to take energy out of the system. So the bungee will spring load and it will take energy out and store the energy, some of it in the tape. That's the third category. So that's my summary of taping 2025 into 2026. Look out for our courses in the USA. They're coming very soon and they'll cover all categories. And I'm going to also provide at some stage a very large webinar explaining this in further depth. Thanks, America. Have a good day, and I'll see you stateside.